Hey, Shalom family. I just wanted to share a few thoughts I was having about spiritual discernment. I think that one of the greatest things that we can do to sharpen our spiritual discernment is probably to stop talking. I think that a lot of times we talk too much, we talk too soon, we talk too loud, and a lot of times we end up adding to the noise versus adding to the clarity of what needs to be heard in a particular moment or situation or in the culture as a whole. We are quick to kind of chime in. We come to conclusions very quickly. We draw conclusions quickly. And we speak on those conclusions quickly, right? So, and we haven't taken the time to fully examine a matter. The scriptures tells us to examine something fully before we speak on it, right? So it's impossible to hear, and it gets harder and harder to hear the more noise that it is, right? We know that from the natural. The more noise it is, the more it's harder to hear. So if you want to be able to hear, you have to be quiet. The Most High often is in a quiet, still voice, right? And not the loud noise that's making the loudest proclamations, right? So we have to be able to be quiet and hear what's going on and what's trying to be communicated and what's really happening, right? We have to give ourselves enough time to hear the questions, right? So the Spirit will drop questions into your spirit for you to ponder and consider, right? Because we tend to look at things on a surface level, right? Based on our flesh, based on our what we are familiar with. But the Spirit will drop questions into your spirit to cause you to examine something, to cause you to look at it in another way, right? So when the people were trying to choose a king, and they went through all the different sons except for David, right? David was the Most High's choice. He's what the Most High had been cultivating all along, right in their midst. But the people didn't see that because they were looking at the fleshly and outer appearance, right? So they were looking at those type of things and judging by those appearances, and they made many choices before they got to David, right? Because they weren't looking, they couldn't see, they couldn't hear. They're looking at the stature. We're often looking at things like that. We pick spiritual leaders based off of their charm, their charisma, their personality, their similarities, right? Their entertainment level, the excitement, the numbers. We look at all these types of things when we are considering what we will give weight to. We're looking at surface level appearances, and we're missing the spiritual things that the Most High has been cultivating, the spiritual things that he's trying to say, what he's really trying to do, what he's trying to raise up. We're missing those things because we're judging incorrectly, right? So in order to judge correctly, we have to know the Most High, his word, his way, his will, right? We have to understand how he operates, what he desires, so that we have that as a litmus, as a something to measure by, right? So we have to know that. We have to know Yah in order to know and discern what will be his choice, what he will be saying, what he will be doing. We have to have a clear vision of that, a clear understanding of that. So we have to constantly be in his word and in prayer to be able to hear what his desire is, so that we can always come back to that core despite what's being said and done around us, right? Because the culture is deceptive. Whether it's secular or religious, it's deceptive, right? Especially, I think that we forget that wolves in sheep's clothing are not looking like wolves in sheep's clothing. They're looking like sheep, right? That's the whole point. They're looking like sheep. They're appearing as an angel of light. So in order to discern light from light, in order to discern sheep from sheep, to know which one has the wolf in it, to know which light is artificial, we have to be able to be quiet and hear, listen, know our Yah, know his heart, know his ways, right? And be willing to adapt to that, be willing to believe that despite what our eyes see, right? So then the other thing is we have to know ourselves. We have to know what is going on in our heart, right? We're still a work in progress. We're still healing. We're still growing, but we have to at least know and be aware of where we are in that process, and be willing to be truthful with ourselves and know the things that the desires that are wayward that we still have, the things that we long for, the things that trip us up, the things that we like, the things that capture our attention. We have to know those things to know that maybe I'm looking through the wrong lens because of something that's in my own heart. And Yah, help me to see above that and beyond that, to hear you despite what I may be drawn to naturally, right? So we have to be able to know ourselves and be submitted, be in truth about who we are and what's going on within us. And we have to know our Yah, right? And doing those things and being quiet and examining, we'll be able to better discern. But one of the greatest things is we have to slow down, be quiet, and wait on Yah to hear. Allow him to take us through the process of examining so that we can make the right decisions, the right judgments, the right moves, not based on the wrong voice, right? So I wanted to share that. I pray that the Most High helps us to cultivate an ear to hear and eyes to see what the Ruach, what the Spirit of Yah is saying above all of the noise, and help us to not be those who are adding to the noise. Let us be those who can point back to the narrow path, can point back to the still small voice, can point back to the way of Yah to say, hey, this is the way, let's walk in this. This is the ancient path. Let's not be caught up in these new sounds and new voices that are speaking. Shalom, family. Blessings.